It's hard work to decide to get better, to do treatment, to do recovery. And if you decide you want to do it and then you can't afford anything, that just breaks my heart. To change that landscape for people so that anyone who needs help can get it is just such a big deal for us.
You've arrived at the Mental Health Spotlight podcast with therapist Kais. And bringing you into this podcast and talking about you, is it Christie Bettwy? Did I say it right?
It is Christie Bettwy, and you did it. And you can
So
call me whatever you want. I don't care. But yeah, no,
Oh,
that's how you say
well, let me
it.
think about that. Let me simmer on that for a minute and ponder.
Such power, let's go. It'll be good.
Who knows where we're going? We haven't even begun and we're already going somewhere
I know.
fun.
And
So
thank you again for having me. And I know I feel like we're fast friends. So I really appreciate this. Is really
absolutely.
fun.
It gives me a chance. Not only are we spreading fabulous eating disorder resources, but it helps me learn something I didn't know about was you and your organization. So it's a little bit of a win-win for me on both
Yeah.
ends.
And it's funny how I feel like we're very much DC Metro rooted right now. We want to be everywhere one day. So hopefully we'll be in your area one day. But for now, it makes
Yeah.
sense you haven't heard of us, but it's fun to connect now.
Yeah. I guess in introducing you, Christy, there's two things going on here. There's you, and then there's you, Rock Recovery, and Rock Recovery's whole mission. But how about a little bit about you, your history, and then I guess potentially how that history brought you to Rock Recovery? I guess those are sort of two questions. But
Those are two in one, and you're really wise to catch on to. Sometimes I'm like, oh, yes, I am not Rock Recovery. I feel like we are very enmeshed in all the lovely ways. Last
it.
Friday was my 13-year anniversary of being on staff at Rock.
Beautiful.
And I was
It's a
our
long
first and
time.
only employee. So in a way, those early years, like when I was on vacation, Rock was on vacation. So it's not totally wild.
So you are Rock Recovery.
So,
Hello.
yeah, basically.
No, you were.
I was. And now
Yeah.
thankfully there's many more of us, but definitely it feels very ingrained. And
Yeah,
so
your website shows other faces. So I'm
yeah,
going to guess those are other folks that have joined
they're
in
real,
13
not just
years.
paid actors. No, they're real.
Fair.
Yeah, so I went through my own recovery journey in 2006, 2007 is kind of when I started after I graduated college. And once I kind of got better and found a lot of healing, I just felt passionately about trying to help other people who might be on their own journey. And at the time, I joke I didn't found Rock Recovery, but it found me. I'm not the founder, but I got involved really early on once the woman who did found it, Dr. Carylynn Larson, founded it back in 2009.
Mhm.
And I was doing research because I had a friend that was struggling with an eating disorder and she couldn't find treatment. She couldn't afford anything. We just couldn't find
Mm.
anything for her. And then Rock Recovery popped up on my Google search. They offer affordable therapy. I don't know. And so I came up to DC from North Carolina for a wedding and met with the founder and just fell in love with what the organization was doing. And it spurred me to move up here to get more involved and volunteer and eventually come on staff. So that is kind of the intertwined story of both Rock Recovery and how I found Rock Recovery and how I got involved was initially as a volunteer before coming on staff 13 years ago.
Well, I love that you mentioned just 2009 when your friend was searching. There wasn't a lot out there, and there really wasn't. So some of folks like you are probably pioneers in creating it. Like our organization is a pioneer in this area with outpatient. So you
Yes.
have a lot of history that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is interesting too, in you being a part of this, is there's people that come to the table who learn this and care about it for many different reasons, and there's people who have lived experience. So it sounds like you're bringing both, which creates a really nice perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Because of course, one of the things I've realized over the years is that my story is just my story. Everyone's story is unique and different. I have various privileges other people don't have. I get that we all have our own journeys to walk. And I do have lived experience, and that's what gives me a lot of the passion for this work. And I'm not a clinician, but I hang out with clinicians all day long, which is a very good deal, I will say. Yeah, there is the lived experience element that is really important. And of course, there's all kinds of journeys and unique things that people experience as well.
Yeah. You almost get to be an honorary clinician because I don't know that you can do the admin, creative business side of this and not understand that to some
Yeah, will
degree.
you give me the secret handshake? Can we? Yeah, I know. I do feel like an honorary clinician some days.
Maybe we'll see we'll give you a few more minutes to see if you've earned the cred, but I'm willing, and then I'll have to text someone and ask them what it is.
That's fine. Yeah, that's great.
25 years in, I'm like, could somebody tell me what the handshake is? What is that? A lot of times I work with people at different residential and outpatient settings, and the people that are making everything happen don't have the clinical experience. But when I talk to them, I'm like, wow, you know so much. You get it. You get it on such a nice level. So you joined here. You've been here in the role of executive director for 13 years, or you said you started as a volunteer and
No, I
then
started as
segued in?
I started as a volunteer, and
Yeah.
my joke was always so I actually fundraised my own salary before I came on staff. I left my fancy consulting job. My lovely parents who are very supportive now and lovely supporters of Rock Recovery, but they were kind of horrified by me trying to quit this cushy, stable, lovely job to go
Mm,
start this random thing that was very risky in the end. And I'm
yeah,
grateful that I did
yeah.
because it brought us to where we are today. But I volunteered for a number of years, raised my own salary, and then initially I was like, "Oh, I'm raising money to hire my boss," because I was hired as the development director and director of programs. Since as a nonprofit, we raise a lot of funds to help bridge that gap for our patients who can't afford treatment. We
Beautiful.
do a lot of sliding scale. We take Medicaid, and we make sure that treatment's accessible to anyone who needs it. And so
Beautiful.
lots of fundraising there. And I used to think I was raising money to hire my boss. And then the board was like, actually, we're going to promote you to executive director and replace your role. And I was like, oh, guess I'm the boss now. And now 10 years of being the boss, I'm like, I can never go back, I don't think. So
Yeah.
it's tough to be at the top, but it's kind of nice to be in charge sometimes. So it's been good. I'm
Oh,
grateful.
beautiful. And you kind of are proving through this that you are rock recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you fundraised your job. You became executive and the board must have appreciated you though to vote you in. Obviously
We've
the
had a
board
great
had to.
board.
Great.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit about Carolyn. It's Carylynn Kemp Larson. She is the founder, 2009, you mentioned. Does she still support the organization? Like, and what brought her to even create Rock Recovery?
She
If you know, I'm
I
assuming you know.
do. I know her all too well. She's wonderful. And it's so funny because, you hear about founders and like this thing called founder syndrome where they are so controlling and take over things and have all this ego. And I'm like, dear Lord, I call her Carrie. I wish Carrie would like tell me what to do or be more controlling or do something. Like she is such a humble, brilliant, wonderful person. So she still serves on our board of directors and she's been on the board for, the entirety of her time with the organization, I guess, what now, 17 years. And she's a big supporter financially. She volunteers, she's on the board, but she has never actually been a paid employee. She's just been this lovely, servant hearted woman who cares about this cause. And she had a story similar to so many people where she had gone through recovery from her eating disorder, but it was a little bit shaky. She felt herself relapsing. And at the time, people, kind of in the outpatient space were like, oh, you need more support than outpatient. We can't quite help you. And then the higher level of care insurance was like, oh, you don't need that. We're not going to cover that. Right. And this
Right.
is still, unfortunately, a thing we see a lot today. And she couldn't get treatment. So eventually she did decline, did go to higher level of care and came home. And one of her friends came to her house one weekend and was like, brought her a book called Starting Nonprofits for Dummies. And she's like, I think you're supposed to start something. Like, I think you're supposed to change this for other people. Here's a book. Good
Yeah.
luck. And here we are, 17 years later. That's kind of how Rock was born. We do a lot of group therapy, individual therapy. I can tell you more about that. But our initial
Yeah.
programming was really meant to kind of bridge that gap, be group meals, be group therapy, mentorship, all this outpatient support
Mm.
that could help buffer and bolster people in a time that previously was pretty isolating. I mean, now there's a lot more therapy groups that are accessible thanks to virtual care, but at the time there was not a lot of outpatient groups being run.
Ooh, not at all.
Yeah.
So I appreciate this. So the level of care is outpatient,
Yes.
but you're trying to do the gamut of groups. There, I noticed online. We can go into more detail, but
Sure.
pretty much anything you could do on an outpatient setting when you're not in a residential setting, you've created those options,
Yes.
and you don't
Absolutely.
turn people away if you don't have to. I mean, some people need to be in res or IOP, PHP, but a lot of people are in that crack.
Exactly. So our
Yeah,
clients need to be medically stable, right? That is one of our requirements
sure,
to work with us, just because we want to be
of
helpful
course.
to everyone, right? And that's just if we're not the right fit, we're not the right fit. But otherwise, it's a beautiful program where we run 8 different therapy groups a week. I think 3 are in person, 5 are virtual, and we do telehealth across Maryland, DC, and Virginia right now. One day I want to grow and be everywhere, but we need to be wise about how we scale and grow. And so I don't get us into trouble since, we have to do all the fundraising up front.
Yeah.
But so someone could do 1 group a week, 2 groups a week, 3 groups a week, individual therapy with us. So you can almost do a baby. It's not an IOP, but it's a step down from an IOP where you're still getting that group support. Or you can just
Mhm.
do, individual therapy or 1 group or whatever someone needs to do. So you can kind of ramp it up or ramp it down. And we do meal support, both in person and virtual, and then body image and life skills groups. Yeah.
How does I have to ask, 'cause not a lot of people do the meal support. Even sometimes in higher level, you're not getting, quite enough meal
No.
support. How does yours work? What's that structure like for you?
It's a great question, and we've really done I think, a really excellent job making it like the meat, dare I say, is a food pun, I don't know. Putting the meat of a program into yeah. Because
Why
early
not?
on this is the problem of having been here forever, I feel like I have to give the answer of, "Well, back in the day, we didn't like this," but early on
But it has changed that much in 10,
it
11 years,
right,
right?
it
13.
has, and so I think it's
It
helpful
has.
perspective.
Mhm.
Early on, our group was 3 hours once a week, and it was long, and then when COVID hit and we went virtual, we were all like, "Ooh, 3 hours is too long," and then when we started
Yeah.
working with insurance and changed our model a bit, we now do a 90-minute therapy meal support
Okay.
therapy group, which is a good amount. So you do, a hunger fullness check-in, you go around and do your 0 to 10, 0 is empty, 10
Mhm.
is Thanksgiving full, check in on your hunger fullness cues. You make your intention for the meal. Either you brought your own meal so you know what it is, or the meal, we tell you what the meal is, and you have kind of, okay, what's your fear? What's your intention? What are you working on? You eat the meal,
Good.
you go around, check in on your intention, the hunger fullness scale, and then we do some kind of like therapeutic directive and goal setting week to week. So we'd close the group with, okay,
Mm,
between now and next time, like what's the goal? So you get a nice mix of peer support from people who get what you're going through, clinical
mhm.
support. All of our groups are led by therapists, dietitians that do, of course, help kind of with the directives and things. And then every
Nice.
8 weeks, the clients do a check in with the individual lead therapist. So they're making their own goals every 8 weeks, but they're still in that peer supported session. So it's a really beautiful, I mean, I wish everyone could do group therapy because it is just like the magic you get to see, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just so wonderful.
Especially with meal support, meals can feel so isolating and families don't and loved ones don't always understand, and here
Yes,
you're with people who get it
totally.
and they understand. I love that. It's so hard to find. It's really hard to find a very robust meal program like
It
that.
is. And I keep
Yeah.
saying I had a meeting with someone earlier, and I'm like, the more I do this, though, especially as a nonprofit, the more I'm like, I understand why no one else does it. Like, as you know, it takes a lot of time and a lot of resources to provide excellent care. And so and with
Yeah.
groups, they are not just, the 90 minutes you spend with your clients once a week. It's so much behind the scenes support, so much in between interaction with other providers and
Yeah.
case collaboration and all. There's just so much more that's going on behind the scenes that
There is.
in our current treatment model of what's reimbursed and all the rest, like, it's just not as sustainable.
That's another one too. Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
groups sometimes are just not easy to support financially and for people for insurance. And you mentioned it sounds like you take an amalgam of insurance as well as Medicaid. Did I hear that
We
correctly?
do, it's true, and the Medicaid is recent, and I feel like Medicaid it's one of these things where I'm like, "Okay, I did my research, I figured it out," and each step of the way, I'm like, "Oh, I did not figure it out." Each time I'm learning a little bit more about the complexity of what it
It's
requires, but
complicated.
I
Yeah,
think
it
dare I
is.
say we figured it out? I should, like, knock on some wood
Good,
somewhere, but we did, yes, yeah. So as
good,
of a couple
good.
months ago, we're officially with all of the MCOs in Virginia Medicaid, and hopefully we'll expand that to other states down the road, but, right now we're starting with Virginia.
Well, and it's great to have that because it just gives us a broader population that can get your services. So wonderful to
Exactly.
thank you for going through the work of doing it to make it a possibility. Because I know it's kinda hard. It is here in Ohio, I'm assuming it is there too, but
Yeah, yeah. Paperwork doesn't thank you, so thank you.
yeah, someone's gotta be value person centered here, right? Do something like that. You've mentioned a couple times that you want to expand. I feel like you got a niche in there. This is going well, and a part of you wants to build it. Uh,
Yeah, and my board is always so
yeah.
mad at me. They're like, "Let us stabilize. We need to get our reserves up. We've grown so much." Because when you look at our bar charts in the last 6 years, I mean, we've quadrupled. We went from serving about 18 clients a week, and now we're at 125. So
Excellent.
it's amazing, and the problem is, though, but every time I go to a conference or meet someone, Ohio or whatever, they're like, "Oh, we don't have this here, we need this here," and I'm like, "I know, let's do it, let's build it, let's grow it." I just see the need
Mm,
everywhere, and I just have a vision. I don't We're working on the roadmap right now. We're doing a 5-year strategic plan with our board to keep me
okay.
probably, contained a little
Hmm.
bit and to help us make wise choices as we think about scaling. Because it is something like one day I wanna be everywhere. I mean, nationwide, telehealth in, like, all the major cities, but there's a big dream
Yeah.
between the 2 things.
Well, and you have a bit of a pilot then, because looking at what you're doing, if it's working and you know how to do the financial side, others can borrow from your knowledge and try their own take on it while you're live in your tri-state, other people can do something like that,
Exactly. Yes, we
but
would love for a
not
copycat
easy.
to come. We would love to partner and
Yeah,
collaborate or whatever it would look like, right? Yeah,
it's
collaboration is one of our really high core values.
mm. I see that. I see trying to extend that knowledge and then however those intersect to benefit both organizations.
Yeah.
You kinda have to collaborate. Resources are scant, connections are tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and really does take a village, and I think we know that, like, in this profession, it unfortunately, there's plenty of work to go around, and so the better we can work together to care for people, like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all on board. I love when there's many interdisciplinary people team working together because I'm like
Yes,
or multidisciplinary. I'm like, "Please help. Please come on in, give me your opinion. Let's do this."
totally.
When I the media really, the media press kit, gosh, I'm like, "What is that thing called?" And they talked about fighting for change, committed to change. That's also all over your website. I know it might sound obvious what that means, but that sounds like a strong statement. What does it mean to you?
Well, for us, we just redid our mission, vision, and values last year, and our mission statement is to make life-saving treatment and support accessible for all, and that's
Yeah,
the thing, the accessibility and for everyone, right? I just think we
yeah,
need to
yeah.
change so much about the stigma around mental health, especially with eating
Mhm.
disorders. It's still vastly misunderstood, and there's so many barriers
Yep,
that keep people unwell and keep people from seeking the help that they need and deserve, right? So
right.
I think the change piece is changing minds and helping people understand like the severities and the realities of an eating disorder. And then the change of, okay, well, we need to fix the system so people can actually like the thing that breaks my heart is it's hard work to decide to get better, to do treatment, to do recovery. And if you decide you want to do it and then you can't afford anything, that just breaks my heart, you know? So to make
Yeah.
to change that landscape for people so that anyone who needs help can get it is just such a big deal for us.
Yeah, and you mentioned if you start with the stigma side and change our cultural viewpoints, that will make it a lot easier too. Because we
Mhm.
do as a society support in lots of mental health areas, but this one is still sort of elusive to some people and
I it really
stigmatized.
it's shocking to me. I've had meetings with, different foundations and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't fund eating disorders, we just fund mental health." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. You I'm so sorry. You're a mental health fund, like, you're an expert in mental health and you don't know that, right? Like, that eating disorders are the second leading cause of death from a mental health condition, second to opioid use disorder. Like, you don't know the statistics of all these, like, you don't know, and this is literally your job. Like, it baffles my mind and
Yeah,
makes me angry. So, yeah.
yeah, and it's growing, right?
And
It's
it's
growing, especially
growing.
some things like ARFID, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite a like you said, we'll always be busy. We just need more access and resources.
Really do. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, you mentioned what one of my questions was is what obstacles are out there, and you mentioned one of them, which is the stigma, the having accessibility in a broad stroke culture that sees it. Other things that have gotten in the way as you've been on this journey, other things that are still out there that are tough?
That's such a good question. Definitely the stigma. The other piece, specific with mental health, I was at a panel the other week at a very fancy event. And everyone was talking about mental health being important and us needing the infrastructure for it and workplaces supporting it and all these things. And I wasn't going to be that person in the audience, but what I wanted to be like, what is your company doing about it? Like, what are you doing about it, big corporation person that's like sitting up here on this panel? A little bit of, okay, at least you're acknowledging it and you're giving it some lip service, but are you actually investing in it? Like, are you really putting your money where your mouth is, right? Or like that kind of thing. And I think that is a bit of a disparity. I will say in the last 2 months, we do a lot of fundraising. We got 10 grant rejections in the last 2 months. It's been a rough time. And so I think one of the biggest challenges that I see for our scaling is just the financial side of it and that
Yeah.
there's not a lot of funding earmarked for mental health, let alone for eating disorders. And so that's just been a bit of
Mhm.
a challenge for us for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's private giving, that's the hope that you but that's a lot of extra work to fundraise without grants.
It is.
It's all private bequests, endowments, things like that.
And it's things that we
Money.
see too with our alumni. We've got a great alumni program. We have amazing alumni. And some people, when they finish working with us, they're like, how do I help? What do I do? I want to volunteer. I want this. And
I
some
love that.
people are like, thank you. You saved my life. I never want to think about you again. And I respect both. Like, I
Mm.
understand like
Yeah.
the different experience people have. But part of it is still, again, that stigma. You think about some of the fundraising things like, people put their names on the children's hospitals and the buildings for
Mm,
this, but you're like, people still aren't proud to put their name, I don't think yet, on
right.
something like this. And I think they should be proud to put their names on it. It's a wonderful cause. People go through incredible care to get better, and we no need to have any shame in struggling. Like there's beautiful perseverance and lovely things that come from the
Mhm.
struggle, and the redemption side of it, even though it's very hard. But I'm like, but we don't have that same, like, yeah, I don't think yet as a society. And I'm hoping one day we do.
No. Yeah. And that's why we're here, right? That's why people like you and I are having hopefully loud
Yes.
conversations so that we can normalize it more. If we normalize it more, it's not even a thing.
Yes,
And kids can talk about
exactly.
it in school.
Exactly. Yeah, one of my
Yeah.
supporters and mentors, and he's like, breast cancer used to have a stigma. People did not talk about it. You would not tell anyone you were struggling. And now it's on every cereal box in
Good point.
October. And that is like
Yeah.
encouraging for me to be like, okay, you can see a shift in someone's lifetime.
Yep.
Like you can, see a
Mhm.
change. I don't know exactly how we'll get there, but it's a helpful reminder.
Advocacy, education,
Yep,
awareness. Addiction's a lot like that. Addiction has a much better tolerance and understanding than it did 30 years ago. It's not
totally.
great, but it's better.
Yeah.
It's better. So we just have to keep doing this. We just have to keep advocating, educating, right? So we have a lot of obstacles. You mentioned financial barriers, stigma, culture. What has gone well though? Where have you seen some promise in steps you've taken or rock recovery has?
For starters, for sure, is just the telehealth piece for us. I don't know exactly what it's like
Mm,
for you all, but in the
yeah.
DC metro area, just with like traffic taking an hour to get anywhere, parking being expensive, all the things, like it's really, really opened up doors that we didn't even know were closed. Honestly, I feel kind of
Yeah.
ignorant saying that, but prior to COVID, it
Mm.
wasn't even on our radar, right? Yeah.
It wasn't allowed. It wasn't even allowed before COVID.
Yeah.
COVID said,
Also
"Okay, you
that.
can do it." It was
Right?
also that.
Yeah, so also that, also the law, I suppose, whatever. I think that's why we don't think of things. But it's just so
Right.
wild how well it works. And it's interesting how I think for our group therapy programs, they really are just as good virtually as they are in person. There's of course like a
Nice.
different feel in person. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, of course there's a little bit something a little bit different, but the outcomes, our program evaluation, the client experience, like it's still so strong because either way, the breaking isolation piece, like realizing, oh, I'm not alone. It's not just me. Nothing's wrong with me. Like all of those
Yeah.
things happen, whether it's on Zoom or around our dining table in our office, right? So that's been really
That's a
encouraging.
great point. Because you're seeing other people in your storyline. It doesn't have to mean you're sitting next to them.
Totally, totally.
We never knew this. Even with friendships, I used to think that virtual it wouldn't be real. And people front and they form real relationships without ever meeting in person. And it's a real authentic relationship.
It really, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
totally. We just had our gala a couple weeks ago, and one of our board members, we had a mentorship program where she mentored one of our former clients who I guess was with us from 21 to 23, and they got to meet in person for the first time at this gala a couple weeks ago. Like they're crying, we're all crying, everyone's hugging. And it's like because the woman who spoke, the client, she's like, my mentor was one of the most significant people in my entire life. Like and they were just
Yeah.
now years later meeting and actually hugging for the first time, right? So it was so
Crazy.
powerful.
Yeah, amazing what we can do. So for you, it's really given you much more access. Obviously, you've quadrupled more than that. You
Yeah.
huge numbers have changed for you
Yeah. There's a very
and for all
exciting
of
bar
us.
chart I can send you. But yes, huge numbers have changed. Yeah.
Well, and so important for clients who might be in a setting where, like you said, getting somewhere is difficult, or it's difficult to be around people, the social anxiety and stuff too. So
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
nice opening. Outside of just these groups, you do some external, I don't maybe we call them outreach, which I thought was kind of fascinating. And you, even on your website, which by the way, your website's great. I think you have a
Thank
fabulous
you.
website. But you
Please.
have on there, it says right there, uh, book a speaker or do you also have they're the faith community offerings. What is a little bit about how you're going out in the community and spreading this?
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that I've loved about rock recovery is I often say, you hear this a lot, like it's never too late to get help. And it's not. Like it's never too late to seek help. We've had clients
That's right.
who have struggled for decades. I also like it's never too early to seek help either. And that's why I love our community education because we'll reach people, we'll go speak to a church or speak to a university or be at a health fair. And people are like, oh, well, maybe I have some weird things, or like, huh, I never really thought about this. And they start talking to us, and we're like, yeah, actually, like, this might be more on the
Yeah.
disorder spectrum. Maybe it wouldn't totally fit criteria for like anorexia or whatever, but like it's never too early to get help. And so just this idea of being out in the community where people are, no matter where they are on their journey of recovery or kind of what they're walking through, helping people talk about it, being in the community and raising awareness. I actually just found out I spoke at a church, I don't know, 3 years ago, and it was a lovely congregation. They actually like included us at the end of the service. They had their whole church stay. They gave lunch, like people love a free meal, like so it was great. Everyone stayed.
Yeah.
It was the most engaged congregation. It was like a lovely, lovely group of people. And I just found out that one of our clients just joined a few months ago from that church and she'd been thinking about it for 2 years and had been like praying about it and thinking about it and discerning. And then something just sort of inspired her just now to join our program. So, like, you never know what seeds you're
Wow.
planting. That's why I love our
Wow.
community outreach because you're just getting to plant seeds to see what happens for
Yeah.
people and
Oh,
helping with that intervention.
yeah, and putting that foundation in and the possibilities of access and recovery care. It's like that with children, you keep feeding this important tenets and stories and morals, and you don't know where it's gonna go until it grows, but you still gotta keep planting it, right? Sticking it in there.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah, I like that.
exactly.
So this
Exactly.
and has it been very welcoming? Is the area I don't know as much about your area. You said you're DC, Maryland, and what is that, part of
Virginia.
Virginia
Yeah.
there?
Northern,
Virginia.
yeah. We're mostly Northern Virginia. hmm
Because we find sometimes getting a little more in what we call the Midwest, it's a little less, aware. How are you guys out there?
You know, It varies, I think, and what's interesting as well, technically with virtual care, we can see the entire state of Virginia, the entire state of Maryland. We're still
Yeah.
very much pulling from a 50-mile radius. We actually are doing our first little mini pilot program in Norfolk, Virginia, which is about 3 hours from where we are in Arlington.
Okay.
So it's a different landscape. It's a different community. It's
Yeah.
completely different pockets, different needs, a lot more military families out there. So we're
Mhm.
learning some different unique things to care about for that community in particular. But I think there's still a lot of there's still some resistance, I think. You'll still experience some people who have some of their own preconceptions about, "Oh, it's fine to get treatment for this, but, like, not in my backyard," kind of, or, like, my family wouldn't struggle or,
Yeah.
like, a
Right.
little bit of that, I think, unfortunately, which is like, well, we're
Yeah.
all humans and susceptible to all kinds of things, right? So
Especially this one.
yeah, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and so I think you see a little bit of that. But generally speaking, because of COVID, I think there's been a little bit more momentum around mental health conversations generally, and that's helped us for sure. And then thinking specifically to faith communities, it's interesting. We used to have more of a faith-based aspect to our programming, and then we really
Yeah.
realized we want to be really inclusive. We really want to be serving the greater
Okay.
population and understanding religious trauma, all kinds of complexity. Like we have
Right.
therapists that specialize in religious trauma, which is actually something I'm really passionate about.
Mhm.
But we've also been able to just spin off some separate side things that are more focused on faith integration if people want it. Because we
Yeah.
often see people if their faith is really important to them, they really want it to be part of their recovery. And so it's which
Yeah.
is reasonable and great and wonderful. And so being able
Mhm.
to offer that as a support element and get into different faith communities that way has been another really neat thing that we're able to do.
So you're finding your way in, even though in some settings it's a little bit of a less permeable membrane
Yes.
to get into. And
Yeah.
I know even with our treatment centers, our higher levels of care, they tend to be in areas and in hubs, and other areas just are kind of devoid of it. So you're you're working at it.
We are, because
Yeah.
it's interesting too when we think about scaling, we have wait lists again, and it's like, what's the low-hanging fruit? Like, we open our doors, enough people will find us but I also wonder strategically, how do we reach people who have need, who might not be looking? Like, there's different levels, like, you have to
Yeah.
start with the education,
Yeah.
the awareness, then the outreach, like, there's just more
Yeah.
layers to it, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. And then collaborating, right, to
Yeah.
find where those other people are and what services are you can link them to. So
Yeah.
a lot of behind the scenes work that we're not even talking about the things that happen in a therapy room. We're talking about the just such important pieces of people like you that really help administrate and run these programs and make sure everything runs smooth. That's so much energy that you have to do to make sure people like me can provide the service to people sitting here.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, "Thank you," and it takes a village, right? Like, we really need each other, and so I think that's
Yeah.
the beautiful thing, but it does take a
Yeah.
lot of behind the scenes work. It just really does. It really does.
Yeah. It does. It
Yeah.
amazes me. in a perfect world, what do we need that's not out there? What would you if someone said, "Okay, you can have A, B, and C," what would be nice to have? That's such a broad question, but I bet you've thought about it.
I know. Well, this is where, our founder, Carrie, I talked about earlier, she's such a dreamer and I've become the doer. And then I'm like, no more dreaming. Everyone needs to just go do things because it's like
Right.
I love a dreamer. I'm married to one. It is mildly exhausting, but it's great to have a dreamer around.
A
But then
free
when you have
spirit.
to execute, I think I've gotten a little too in the ground. Like, let's be realistic. So it's good to dream,
Yeah.
right? Because that's how all of
Yeah.
these beautiful things have been born with a dream. I joke with Rock Recovery. The founder. I'm like, oh, she birthed it, but I get to like co-parent with her. Like, I never would have had the dream, right? Like, but here we are. Yeah.
You're co-parenting, I love
We're
that.
great co-parents. We're really strong together.
Love it.
Um, I just think, again, what I would love is just to be able to like wave a magic wand a little bit and like not,
Yeah.
we're not a franchise, but almost franchise Rock Recovery's program model. Because while I really do
Yes.
understand each market's different, things would look different. There'd be different considerations in Ohio and New Jersey, wherever. What we've found works. Like we break the isolation, we break the stigma, we do group, we do individual. Like we've really found this beautiful model of okay, we know what people need in the outpatient space. We know we reduce relapse rates. We know we're catching people in that vulnerable time between a higher level of care and outpatient. Like we
Yeah.
see that we're moving. Like we know we're all these things we're doing are working, and it's just like it would be beautiful to be able to go like put it in every community and
Franchise.
franchise it.
Interesting. What an interesting word. It's not a word we usually think about that with, like, Mickey D's, right? We don't think
Yeah,
about it with
the McDonald's of
but
eating disorders, probably not the right brand, but, yeah.
or absolutely the right brand, depending on the angle. That's a really interesting approach because, like, to your pilot talk earlier, once something works, how do we get other people to adopt it, make it work, and then also benefit the originals? There's nothing wrong with companies benefiting as well from this model, and
Sure.
that's what franchising is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I
We'll
like that.
see. You can
We
be our
do a lot of
first
health education and
franchisee.
look at
Let's
that.
go.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I should talk because Anne's always trying to expand groups and stuff here, and it is challenging, as you have mentioned. So the outpatient part is a little
Yeah,
easier. The other stuff, not so much.
it is. And I'm curious with your groups, are your groups ongoing or do you do them in like 8-week cohorts
So
generally?
when we have them, they're usually like in and out,
Yeah.
couple weeks and then boom, and it just
Yeah.
depends. We'll do some parent groups. We had some binge eating groups.
No,
Currently, we're
neat.
doing some retreats, but they're not as ample as we would like. It's hard to get people to come. It's also hard because some of it's private pay, and then you're
Yes.
asking people to pay for something that they may or may not have in their budget.
I collaborate with so many of our private practice friends out here who are individual providers because we run groups. Our groups are all ongoing, like they run all the time. So they never stop.
Beautiful,
And which is
nice.
impossible to do as a private practice owner. I wouldn't say totally impossible, but it's almost impossible.
Yeah,
Right.
it'd be
But for
hard.
us, because it's what we're known for, we're a nonprofit, like all the things, all the stars align for us that it works for
Yeah,
us. And I see why it's so hard otherwise to get them started and keep them running. Cause like even for us, one's on a wait list with like 8 people on the wait list. And then 3 months later, there's 4 people in the group. And then you go through your ebbs and flows. It's just the way groups
you
work.
do.
Right.
That's
And
right.
so we're able to float it because we have so many, it's what we do. We have the revolving, not the revolving door in a bad way, but like we have
You
the
have it.
people coming, like we have the demand, because otherwise it's
Yeah.
really hard to offer. Yeah.
You need people there to make people feel like they're part of a group. You
Yeah,
need a group.
yeah.
You
2
need
is not
that.
a group. That's what we learned in my mission trips. It's like they never
2
go
is
off by
not a
2 is
group.
not a group. Don't go off by
No
yourself.
no dyads. Must be a triad or more.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly.
What is a piece of advice that you would give someone, I guess in either area, seeking I guess someone looking to get recovery services related to eating disorders? What you've learned, what would you suggest for them or advice?
Like, don't wait, just like what's the next right thing? What's the next small step? What can that baby
Yeah.
step be? I've been reflecting a lot on just like the annoying wonderfulness of baby steps and like all the big changes in my life, all of the accomplishments, all of the growth. Like, I look back and I want to see, like, what was the big win? What was the mountaintop? It's like there wasn't one. It was just like, days and days and days of those small steps that strung together and suddenly like had a big impact, right? Like, even at Rock, there wasn't the big
Mm,
$1 million donor, or the big this or the big that. Like, it's all been
right.
lovely, faithful, small steps and community bringing us together
Yeah.
that's made a big difference. And so just not like downplaying the beauty of just doing the next right thing. Like, what's the next step? Telling a friend, calling a therapist, getting like ordering your lunch and whatever the thing is, like just do the next thing. And it's even if it seems small, it's actually big in the long run.
Yeah. And you mentioned that momentum that comes when you do make all those small steps. And we know this in the recovery path. All of a sudden, the momentum starts to work in your favor and not against you. And before
Yes,
you know it, you're like, wait, how did I get here? And that can take a different amount of time for different people, but you must be moving. There must be some kind of motion. And so your baby steps count.
totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though you want bigger steps, but we all do. Those of us that
We,
want to change the world.
I know we all want the big
Big
flashy
step.
shiny things. I love a big
Uh,
flashy step,
I
but with
know,
my
but
jazz
it's
hands and I
okay.
don't know, but it's just not the
I'll
way it's
jazz
gonna
hands
work.
with you.
Yeah, let's do
I'll do it.
it.
But my favorite one word that describes either your journey, because you said you have a personal journey, or your journey with rock recovery.
Oh.
I let people have two. I'm pretty
I was gonna
nice.
say, I'm like, "Can I have 17?" Like, I've, like, never been
I'm
one
pretty
for
flat. Oh, I'm
yeah,
not that
yeah, I'm
flexible.
teasing.
We don't have enough time for 17.
I know. I can stall until you let me get there, though.
It's true. It's true. And I probably would because, person-centered care here, whatever you
Right,
need.
thank you, thank you. I wanna say surprising, like, in a way, because I
Mm,
think both my journey and Rock Recovery's journey, it's not what I thought it would be, but even though it's been
yeah.
surprising, it's been really, like, beautiful. Like, so, like, surprising yet beautiful. I'll give you 3 kind of if you let me bridge them.
We can
Yes, because there's, of
they
course
count.
yeah, there's of course, I don't
Mm,
wish the journey of recovery on anybody. I think it's a tough road to walk, and, like, I do see the redemption from it, right? Like, there's so much
yeah.
good. We've gotten to, like, be
Mm,
in the sorrow with so many folks and also see the joy and just, like, the healing that's really possible, and so just
mhm.
remembering that is so beautiful.
And I love surprising too, because I'm often surprised when a client surprises me and things happen I didn't expect or in a way I didn't expect or what I didn't think when I first met them. And I'm like, oh, that's a nice surprise.
Yeah.
I like it. And beautiful. You're right. Being able to watch people recover
Mm.
it makes all the hard work worth it. And for people who do recover, not just those of us that watch on the sidelines.
Yeah,
That's good
absolutely.
stuff. Well, you're doing great stuff. I'm so glad we got to talk about rock recovery, what you're doing, what services you have, this beautiful, maybe franchise idea of capturing this and broadening and reducing stigma and creating more advocacy. It's just you're another great person out there doing what we need to be done for eating disorders.
Thank you, and right back at you. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful, and thanks for chatting with me today. This was really wonderful.
Thanks for listening to the Mental Health Spotlight podcast, helping you hold hope on your recovery path.